Hello from the 2019 Global Legal Hackathon in New York City. My name is Kim Sully, and I'm the host for today's show. Joining me today, we have three of our GROWL mentors. We have Heather, Anna, and Claire. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Before we get started, if you could please each tell us just a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Heather McAuliffe. I'm with Morrison Foerster. I'm their knowledge management manager. So being excited to see some of these and talk with some of these entrepreneurs and app developers.
That's great.
My name is Anna McGrane. I'm one of the co-founders of PacerPro, which is a legal tech company. I'm an attorney by background, and now we're a data aggregator.
Hi, I'm Clare Godson. I work for Allen Overy, the global law firm. I'm an executive director in the advanced delivery team. I'm a lawyer by background, so we work across a range of technologies to support legal initiatives.
That's great. Really appreciate all of you being here. Heather, I know you joined us pretty early this morning, and I'm wondering if you could tell the audience a little bit about the GROWL initiative and what made you interested.
I was really just interested because I feel like the industry in general needs a lot more automation and modernization, and just the whole creative nature of it and the openness here that people are really wanting to solve some issues, and I've been seeing some really cool things today. So
that's great. And I'll just mention that GROWL stands for the Global Rise of Women in Legal Tech. And I know that we have one all-woman team here in New York. They're Femme Legal, or Femme Legal, I believe. And I think, Anna, were you sitting with them a little bit today?
Yeah.
And what kinds of ideas are they kicking around? Are they having a good time?
Yeah, I know. It's really impressive. I think several of them are from the Cornell Tech program. And so there was the idea of a digital wallet, so to sort of change the power dynamic with people and their personal data. There was some ideas for how you automate contract review, so to pull all of the multi-jurisdictional rules with deadlines and dates, particularly in the civil jurisdictions. But I think what was nicest about it was that there was a real dynamic of sort of pushback on execution. So it wasn't just, okay, we think that this is a good idea and this is a problem, but how are we going to market it? Who are we going to sell it to? What are the regulations that we're going to have to deal with? Can we actually make this into a product that's viable? Because I feel like that's one of the things that's missing from so many of the legal tech companies that are out there.
That's great. And would you mind also just sharing what made you interested in participating in GROWL?
Nita reached out a couple of weeks ago, and I think, from my perspective, we're 7 years in on our company. And the last couple of years now, we're comfortable and have a good client base. But the first couple of years when you're launching, it's really rough. And the people who kind of help and provide mentorship and get you started you're really grateful, but you can't really pay back to them. So the only way you can do something about it is to try and help the next set of people that are getting started.
That's great. Thank you. And Claire, how about you? Have you had a good time so far today? And can you share a little bit about your interest in the GROWL initiative?
Yes, I was very interested in participating, I think, because despite all the advances in diversity, I think technology is still one of those areas where a lot of women still feel uncomfortable compared to their male counterparts engaging in the same way and still see it as more of a male stomping ground. So I think it's great to have the initiative within the wider hackathon to have groups formed exclusively of female representatives, and also just generally encouraging women to get more involved in legal tech. I've seen some incredibly interesting ideas being thrown around. And I think in relation to the all-female group that we were just discussing, I think what was particularly interesting about the way that they approached the problem was to go really wide to begin with and brainstorm a really wide range of ideas. And then they've been speaking to participants and mentors and other people at the event to market research those ideas and kind of socialize them before they narrow them down in terms of those which they're going to take to the next step and implement. And I think that's a really great example of how well collaboratively women work in these types of teams in terms of taking times to really define and refine the problem and the audience for it. So I've been very impressed about the quality of conversations that have been going on in the room. Having said that, there's a lot of male teams here as well who have some great ideas. So I think it's going to be quite the challenge.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting to me that this is the first year that GROWL was introduced. And I noticed last night we had a pretty big turnout. I think there were close to 100 people there. And what we ended up with was one all-woman team and I think one other team that has a woman leader. So it, I think, speaks to the reason why GROWL exists and why it's so great to have the three of you here helping to support the initiative and answer questions. And I think it's great. I guess I feel like it's sort of proof that an initiative like this is necessary.
Absolutely.
And I noticed that you, Heather, were talking with that woman-led team earlier this morning. How was that?
So fascinating. She has a very niche market of derivatives. At first, she was approaching it from really just a product perspective. So I was trying to steer the conversation around, well, who is going to be using it? And so we spent a couple hours. I would say we did. We spent a good 2 hours together, and it went from just about, well, 3 simple decisions about what are derivatives and what is the product to, well, who is it going to serve and what are like a whole bunch of different questions that could be automated and what is going to be the output of it all. And I learned a lot because there's quite a niche market there, and it could. I think where I left it when I came over here was she was feeling like it's such a huge thing. And so she was feeling a little bit, maybe, I won't say blocked, but she was feeling like this is maybe too big to tackle for one weekend. And yeah, it would be too big for one weekend, but I think there's huge potential there that she could certainly build on and, you know,
you have to
market.
start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and then one of the other ladies at the table was mentioning, well, what about a component of a customer-facing component of it? And, you know, that would be really cool, and just try to blend it all in from a workflow perspective. And a lot of it goes into a whole bunch of publicly available government data that no one really knows how to access.
Interesting. Anna, were there any problems that you were interested in heading into the weekend or that you hoped that you would see teams tackling?
From last night's, I did think that the derivative proposal was pretty interesting because what she described was she's been a regulatory lawyer for a number of years, and you get a question from a client and you actually do know the answer, but since you're an attorney and it's a complex regulatory system, you have to go and click through all of these windows to make sure that you're right and that nothing's changed. And so it seems that something was simple, it was practical, it wouldn't take any advanced algorithms, it just would eliminate a bunch of rote work. And then from this morning, there's another group that's Vishal from Hinshaw was talking about making it better at law firms for lawyers to understand data practice and good data hygiene. So I thought that was also a very interesting idea.
So just one last quick question, if we could do a little sort of rapid fire. If there's any particular piece of advice you could get to either a woman lawyer or technologist who's just starting in the industry, Claire, I'll start with you.
I would say just leverage your network as wide as possible and don't be afraid to ask lots and lots of questions and to be honest about the things you do understand and the things you don't understand. You know, very few people have all the tools in their knowledge bank on day one. So being comfortable in reaching out and establishing where you've got gaps in your knowledge and how to collaborate with others to bring your idea to fruition. For me, that's the way to go. So I would say kind of, you know, lean in, to be a bit cliche, but yeah, lean in.
It's great advice. Anything to add, Heather or Anna?
I would say if you are still at a large law firm, recognize that you have a tremendous number of resources available to you. So reach out to your librarians, your knowledge managers, your practice support professionals, because they know an extraordinary amount about technology, which software systems work, why other ones have failed. And so learn everything you can before you leave.
I'll keep it simple. Just keep a green mind.
I like that
Every
one.
day is new.
That's great. Thank you. One last question. If our listeners would like to reach out to you, would you mind providing your contact information?
I mean, I'm on the vendor side, so sure. It's Anna, ANNA, at PacerPro.com.
Heather McAuliffe, MCAULIFFE at mofo.com.
And
And
Claire.
Clare Godson, Claire without an I, CLARE.GODSON at allenovery.com, or just search Clare Godson on LinkedIn.
I want to thank our guests for joining us today. We also want to thank our listeners for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review us in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting app. I'm Kim Sully, signing off from the 2019 Global Legal Hackathon. Until next time, thanks for listening.
If you'd like more information about what you've heard today, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via iTunes and RSS. Find us on Twitter and Facebook, or download our free Legal Talk Network app in Google Play and iTunes. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.